You can't keep getting away with it!
After an extremely long wait, the 9th generation of Pokémon has finally started with the release of Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. Unfortunately, these games look like shit. After getting to play the game, we quickly realized that the trailers didn't show any early beta material. Sadly, that's what the games legitimately just look like. Many textures are about as sharp as my eye test, the open world is largely empty except for, the Pokémon, and the performance is just a joke. Coming from the highest grossing media franchise in the world, this is not acceptable. A look at social media shows that these statements are not even exaggerated. Especially on Twitter and Reddit, people like to shit on the overall performance of Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. In this case, however, bullying is totally fine, because even some PS2 games that were released like 15 years ago look better than this shit. Don't believe us? Let's take a look. One thing in particular that God of War 2 did better than Pokémon Scarlet and Violet do now is the combat. It may sound strange and a bit far-fetched at first, but hear us out. While Game Freak has been reusing the same battle animations for what feels like 10 years, OG Kratos in comparison has aged well, and still looks great ripping apart his enemies. Turn-based battles are pretty much the most important feature in Pokémon, but for years it felt like Game Freak does not care. They only seem to put some effort into the gimmick of the respective game, like Dynamax or the Terastal phenomenon. On some ends though, Scarlet and Violet even take a step back. Pokémon won't even close their eyes anymore when they're asleep. Come on, guys, you can't be serious. You'll also need to turn a blind eye when comparing Pokémon Scarlet and Violet's visuals to Rogue Galaxy. Just have a look at the following clips, and keep in mind, between both titles there's almost 17 years of development time, new gaming platforms, and better hardware. When looking at Snake moving through this densely overgrown forest and the blades of grass bending away from under his feet, that's when you should notice how little effort was put into the new Pokemon games. Not only did the grass textures look way better in 2004, but the plants actually responded to the player's movement. A level of realism unimaginable in Scarlet and Violet. Perhaps Game Freak will be able to match the graphical performance of the PlayStation 3 when the 10th Pokemon generation releases in about 3 years. Would at least be a real step forward for the franchise, if you ask me. Similar to the open world this time, which unfortunately is completely overshadowed by its graphics and substandard performance. Sometimes it's hard to be a Pokemon fan. We know that there are a lot of Pokemon fans out there who might bash on us for this opinion, but do you really think this is acceptable coming from Game Freak and Pokemon?